Hi, in this interview you'll hear from John from Bamford Trading, who's shipped over 500,000 orders on eBay alone, and how he competes with the likes of B&Q and how you can too. John, can you tell us a little bit more about what your business does?
Yes, Matt. We're quite a simple, small business, fairly straightforward. We buy, we stock, when we sell hardware and tools online, and we now have a small but growing click and collect element to the sales.
Oh, right. So is that so that local businesses can come in and collect the order straight from you and your business?
Yeah, we live in a very rural area, so we've got a lot of farmers, mechanics, that kind of thing, who've come to know about us and know that we've got a pretty wide range of things, and we've got some suppliers that can deliver those things that aren't physically here. They'll be here within 24 hours. So yeah, we get more and more people relying on our warehouse for supplying their hardware and tools requirements.
That's fascinating, that, John. Is that something that you've done sort of in partnership with eBay? Is this something that you've done? Because I know what eBay are doing the same thing with Argos. And is this something you've done independently?
Yeah, some time ago we used a marketing guy to help us for a 6-month period, and one of the things he came up with was click and collect is going to be the future, and of course we knew that, but we weren't focusing too hard on that because most of our energies were going into the marketplaces. Anyway, he helped us with a website called Click and Collect Direct, which links directly into our website. And the signage on the building here, on the gates and so on, is Click and Collect Direct. So local people driving past must have been curious. They went onto the website, saw the kind of things we offered, in particular for farmers who are quite keen on prices, as you're probably aware. If they're happy to come and collect, we can be very, very keen on pricing, and so it grew from there. And it is a growing part of the business.
Okay, so just coming back to the marketplaces, which marketplaces do you use, and how long have you been using them for?
We use Amazon and eBay really predominantly. eBay we've been on since 2005. And Amazon about 2 years later. Amazon was really added on because eSeller Pro, the solution we use, it was just there. And so it was no extra work to actually start selling things on Amazon. And it surprised us how quickly that took off. But since that time, Amazon have also surprised us in the way that they're incredibly price focused. In fact, I guess everybody would know them as the most price-focused marketplace. And until the demise of their price parity policy, we were becoming more and more disillusioned with Amazon. Since the price parity policy has disappeared, it's now become more interesting because we can now sell things that we weren't willing to sell on Amazon before that disappeared.
Okay, so John, we've missed a daft question. How did the actual business start? Where did the idea actually come from?
Well, Jill and myself had corporate backgrounds, and I was in telecoms, and Jill worked for Kraft Foods, the Kenco coffee people and that kind of thing. She decided she'd had enough of that corporate world, and I was made an offer I couldn't refuse in terms of the telecoms business was changing. And so we suddenly found ourselves with lots of spare time and some cash, and we literally got a whiteboard and wrote down the things we could do. I'd long thought that online retail was going to be big because I enjoyed shopping online because it was convenient. And so if I enjoyed it, then lots of other people would enjoy it. So the top of our list on our whiteboard was online retailing. A friend of ours, a very good friend of ours, said to us, have a look at eBay. And of course, like most people in those days, I said, well, I don't like eBay. It's a flea market. It's got the wrong image. It's just not really what we would want to get into. But to cut a long story short, from the kitchen table, we sold lots of our personal things because we were downsizing at the same time, and we suddenly found actually it's not that bad at all, and it does work, and it's straightforward, and it's simple, and so it became the key market for us overnight.
Literally overnight.
Literally, yeah. We went to the NEC Spring Fair one day with £2,000 in our pocket, £1,000 each, and we spent it.
So you really went...
and it felt like such a risk, such a big thing, and of course it wasn't. In the grand scheme of things, it was nothing. But it started us off, and we've still got pictures of the first shipment arriving in cardboard boxes at the end of the drive, and thinking, oh my goodness, what have we done? And that's how it started.
Okay, so let me just clarify. You whiteboarded a couple of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You inadvertently found eBay, and then you went off to the spring fair with a pocket load of cash, had no idea what you were going to buy, and then had the boxes turn up at the end of the road, and it all went from there.
Well, Jill's into gardening, and I've always been a practical kind of guy. I'm into hardware and tools and things, and so we really knew that's the key areas. But we diversified into all manner of things. Once, if anyone's ever not been to the spring fair, it's a huge show with so many good things to buy. Then, and we unfortunately, one of the mistakes we made that we might come on to is we diversified too much too quickly, and we, instead of having a specialism, we had no specialism, and I think that's a good lesson to learn. So we quite quickly narrowed it back down to tools and hardware. In particular, once the recession started to bite, we had to be selling things that people needed to buy rather than wanted to buy.
So you would say, John, that again you've went and bought products that you previously knew about, an area which you were either interested in or you had some form of knowledge.
Yeah, I was enthusiastic, if you like. Yeah,
right.
I understood it. Yeah,
that's interesting. That's a theme that is coming up quite often. It's, for any people who are listening to this and want to start selling online, a lot of themes running through these podcasts is go into something that you know about.
Absolutely. Or you're enthusiastic about, because
exactly.
your enthusiasm will show. And when people ask questions, it's no good referring to some text. You have to be able to refer to some experience or enthusiasm.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So, John, when we spoke via email, you suggested a topic for us to cover, which was how small businesses can stay competitive and efficient. Can you elaborate on that for us?
Well, we compete with some big players, some very big players, and of course eBay unfortunately seem to be focusing more and more on brands and bringing those brands in and giving them an unfair advantage, which we can understand. Of course we can. They need to compete with the likes of Amazon, but it means that we have to then compete with the likes of B&Q and Screwfix and these kind of people. How on earth are we going to do that with 7 people? You have to really sit down and stop and think about that. Well, of course, we can be very fast. We can be agile. We can get new products to market incredibly quickly. We don't need to go through a chain of command to do that. And so that's probably the key way that we would compete. We can compete on price because our overheads are very low. We can do smart things like we can use eSeller Pro, or we can use a solution to help us multi-channel sell. But at the end of the day, we've got to constantly think of new ways and new things to make us more efficient. So when eBay, gives an example, when eBay changed their photo standards, we had something like 5,000, maybe 6,000 images to check and change, and we were able to do that by using Photoshop or some of the automated functions within Photoshop. So we could resize, we could change the logo, we could change the image on there to comply with the eBay standards. Now that's a very simple short-term one-off solution. But some other ideas, for example, we use supplier data feeds. We use suppliers that tell us overnight their data feeds are updated, and we download the data feeds, we manipulate them using Excel, and we then tell eSeller Pro what's available to sell, or more importantly, what's not available to sell.
Mm-hmm. And then eSeller Pro will kick in and update your marketplaces, so your website, eBay, Amazon,
exactly.
etc.
eSeller Pro's channel profile says, okay, we've now manipulated the information from the supplier using Excel to update eSeller Pro, which then via the channel profiles delists things or begins to sell things which are now available on a next day basis.
Okay, so now for somebody who's listened to this and they've never heard of eSeller Pro, what does this software allow you to do? What is the basics of this software, and how does this software help your business?
Well, it's fair to say that eSeller Pro is one solution. There are lots of solutions, and I'm not here to plug eSeller Pro. And in fact, it's always interesting to see what new solutions are becoming available, and we're always keeping an eye out for that. But it would be foolish to ignore eSeller Pro. We've used it since almost the very beginning in 2006, and so we know it very well, and we use it to its best advantage, I think. What does it do for us? In simple terms, all of the time, every morning, every day, every hour, it gathers our orders from the different marketplaces, it matches them with payments, and it helps us to pick and pack and dispatch orders at the same time, communicating with customers to keep them informed. All of those things are automated, and that's the very top level, the very simplest thing.
I was going to say, John, but basically it's a system which allows you to aggregate your orders from multiple sales channels.
That's the word I was searching for, yeah.
Okay, that's the posh word for it. So you're able to collect your orders from eBay, not only just one eBay account, but multiple eBay
accounts, yeah, absolutely. Okay. The website and so on and so forth.
Okay, and then because that then saves you having to log in to each eBay account and process the sales within there, and a separate Amazon account, you can then process your orders from a single screen.
That's right.
Okay, so it matches the payments up for you. You're able to print orders for all of your sales channels in one go. Okay, and then when it comes to the inventory side, you have a single inventory system. How does that work for you?
Well, it starts right from the beginning when it actually helps us to order things which we've been selling. So overnight, eSeller Pro will work itself out and tell me what I need to be ordering to replace the things that we've sold that day, and so it'll generate purchase orders. When the product comes into the warehouse here the next day, then the second we've told eSeller Pro it's here, then eSeller Pro will start to sell the product. So and it'll sell it across multiple marketplaces, and it'll take it away from marketplaces if it's been sold on a different marketplace. So it would be impossible to manually do that kind of thing. It just wouldn't be. Well, you could do it. Obviously, you could do it, but you'd need an army of people.
I can imagine.
And it comes back to this thing that we have to compete with the big boys, and so this is the kind of thing that keeps our costs right down. Now we've simplified. eSeller Pro does lots and lots of other things, so we've really simplified it. And we could spend a whole hour talking about just what that kind of thing does for a multi-channel seller. Okay,
so you use some other tools like Dropbox. Can you explain how you use them in your business?
Well, we tend to work like most people in this business. We tend to work lots of different hours from home or from the office or from somebody else's home or from a hotel or on holiday, and so we need something that can keep our files and our information in one place. I mentioned before about the supplier data feeds and being manipulated. Well, we actually download those data feeds to Dropbox, which means it's available on any of our computers. In fact, it's available on tablets as well. Because it's there. We also use it for a very clever piece of software called TiddlyWiki. Now, TiddlyWiki is an instant wiki, personal wiki, if you like, where we can keep standard text, standard answers, information that we need to constantly refer to. And it's available because of Dropbox. It's available on any of our computers at any time. So again, these are solutions to try and keep us as efficient as we can be.
So we'll include a link into TiddlyWiki underneath this article on the Understanding E site. And what other tools do you find useful on a daily basis?
Oh, crikey, on a daily basis, we use lots of Excel macros. Obviously, we have a server system in the office which keeps everybody's images and so on, so we can manage all that kind of thing. Nothing else really comes to mind as being critical on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. So for somebody listening to this podcast right now, what one tip would you give them if they were looking to sell online, now knowing what you do know, so that they could get their business started the right way?
Well, I think when we started, it was a much easier thing to do. There was much less competition. There was less choice there was much less competition because there were less retailers. There was much less choice for customers, and so there were fewer products. And so it was just a generally easier thing to do. There was much less price pressure. Now, of course, there are lots more suppliers, and in particular, we sell a commodity product. I mean, tools. A screwdriver is, generally speaking, a screwdriver, and if you want to buy a Draper screwdriver, then you've got a choice of maybe 60 suppliers, or 60 retailers or 60 stockists. And so the tip I'm coming to is you have to be very, very careful about which suppliers you choose, how you price things. You know, when the recession really hit in 2009-10, for us, we really suffered. We really struggled because we'd overspent, we'd overstocked, and so we had to go right back to basics. And each individual product had to be reviewed, and we had to decide whether we were going to keep that product. And it went down to suppliers. We actually culled quite a few suppliers because they couldn't give us some of these efficiency measures that we needed. They didn't have data feeds, for example, or they couldn't supply with good images, or their descriptions were poor, you know. And so coming back to the original question, Matt, I think several things. I think I would be very careful about what suppliers I used, having decided which products you were going to sell. The supply chain that people talk about is critical now to being a success. And the second most important thing is to keep control of costs. You know, you've got to project forward. You've got to make sure that your cash flow is going to pay your bills. I won't go into it, but there's some great information online about how profitable businesses can go under because they don't manage cash flow. You might think, oh, I'm making lots of money, I'll buy lots more stock. But if the bills come in before your revenue comes in, then, or for some reason you can't sell, some reason it might snow for 2 weeks. You know, if you can't afford to keep trading without any income for 2 weeks, then the winter could be a bad time for you. And that's the kind of tip I would give people.
Okay, so plan ahead and just make sure you've got a buffer in place and the business can survive on times of drought.
Because the online retailing is such a competitive market. You have to make. Lots of people are tempted into selling things at no profit. You know, the race to the bottom, the busy fool. Everyone's heard these phrases, but there are lots of busy fools out there making no money, and who will seriously struggle if it came to 2 weeks of snow or a Royal Mail strike or the eBay platform went down for a week. You know, God forbid. It's a case of cash flow. Cash is king. You know, keep control of it. Don't sell things too cheap.
Nothing will kill a business quicker than no cash.
That's right. I mean, suppliers are not going to be very happy with you if you can't pay their bills.
I can imagine. Right. So, John, there's an ad hoc question which is sprung to my mind, which is that it's around growth. And is that something on the lines of where do you see Bamford trading next year? Is that an okay question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we as far as growth is concerned, we've experienced steady growth since the beginning, except for the recession years, where we were pretty stagnant actually. But ever since, probably 18 months ago, we started to see things improve again. And I think a lot of it was down to the fact that we were really careful about the products and the suppliers and the pricing. And manpower here, we actually had to make someone redundant, unfortunately. But once things were back under control, we've seen steady growth, and we continue to see steady growth. And I think as the UK comes out of this recession, then we will see more demand for the kind of products that we sell as people improve their homes and move house and things. So I do see a steady growth. We're also very, very close to some of our suppliers now, where we can do deals. We've got the relationship that we can actually come up with product kits and so on that will help us to be slightly different from the crowd, and that's one of the things that we aim to do.
So, John, how have the marketplaces helped your business, and could your business run without them? I think it's probably a critical question.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And no, it couldn't. We've focused very much on the marketplace, and I'll tell you why. We sell what is really a commodity product. You know, it's you can buy tools anywhere and everywhere. There are lots of suppliers online. They're not unique products, so we have to be able to attract huge amounts of traffic to get the kind of levels of business that we need. The marketplaces do that for us. You know, let's be fair, eBay and Amazon are incredibly good at what they do, and so we wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. Yes, I'll give you an example. Not having to spend time when everybody went mobile crazy and people shop in the evenings now on their tablets and so on, we didn't have to worry about websites that didn't actually work on a tablet, because eBay and Amazon took care of all of that thing, and that gave us the time to spend on critical things such as supply relationships, product selection, etc. I'm probably going to be shot down in flames for saying this, but I think the fees we pay are generally very reasonable. Well, I won't say very reasonable, but generally reasonable, and not out of line with what a normal business would spend on a marketing budget. So we all complain about eBay fees, and we all complain about the diminishing discounts and so on. However, if you look at any decent-sized business, a marketing budget is not going to be out of line with what we're paying for what is essentially a marketing service.
Okay, so let's just clarify that, because it sometimes gets lost here, is that you end up with this bill at the end of the month from eBay or another marketplace, and it looks like a lot of money. But what you're actually paying eBay for is for the marketing of you, your business, and your products. And it's just like a tap. You can turn customers on, and you don't have to go like both feet in and launch a massive amount of inventory onto the marketplaces. You can literally just start with one product, and eBay and Amazon will do pretty much the marketing for you, and bring customers right to your door. And the amount which they charge varies on categories and from marketplace to marketplace. But if we assume about 12.5%, so including like eBay fees at say 10%, and processing fees for the payments, then that's actually pretty good value. And have you gone into something like AdWords before? Have you expanded further for the actual your own website?
Yeah, we use AdWords. We use product ads for the website, and yeah, it works. But the website has to be, again, it comes down to what you're selling. If we were selling unique products, it might be different. But we sell commodity products you can buy in any number of suppliers, and so we use Google AdWords only on those products that we think have got a good price point, because it's pointless paying to advertise something that is not competitive. Interestingly, one of my pet subjects is the comparison between Amazon and eBay, and I tend to favour eBay because it's easy to stand out from the crowd on eBay. It's a unique listing. It's not a catalogue listing. And so we can put ourselves above the crowd by being better at marketing, better at descriptions, better at titles. We don't necessarily have to focus every day on price, because it would be very difficult for a small retailer like us to survive if everything we sold was at complete rock bottom. So that's an interesting thought for the guys in eBay and Amazon. They're forcing people like us to be rock bottom. Well, I'm trying to explain that eBay doesn't necessarily force us to be rock bottom, and so we can survive by being good at what we do.
And that's because you've got extra tools at your disposal. And I think we're running into a topic which is one of the fundamental differences between the marketplaces. So on eBay, on one hand, they are purely a marketplace, and it's purely focused towards businesses, online businesses like yourself. Whereas the Amazon, it's actually a double-edged sword. They sell products themselves, and they allow third-party merchants like us, and you, if you listen to this, to use Amazon to sell your products on there. Now, actually, looking at the stats from last year, it was something like 39% of all sales made on Amazon, and in Q4, it was in the billions. It was just like a ridiculous amount of money which was transacted on Amazon. But also one of the fundamental differences between eBay and Amazon is that a product on Amazon has a single page. When you create a new product, and you should only be one record for that product on Amazon. Whereas on eBay, you're able to brand that listing. You're able to put your personality or the persona of that business in front of your customer, and to just leverage it to how you think best to sell your products. Is that fair to say, John?
Yeah, that's very fair to say. We on our eBay listings, we're able to show a picture of the team, so you can see a picture of the people who are going to be packing your product, and you can see a picture of our customer services manager. And it's a great way. I think if I was buying on eBay, I'd eBay still has this slight risk element to it, and I think I'd like to see the kind of people I'm buying from. And that's the kind of thing we do. I mean, your own widget chimp, Matt, solutions have really helped us. They've helped us in terms of the related items widget, and in particular the feedback widget, which shows people that on each listing what feedback that product has been given by other buyers. It's getting towards the Amazon review type of power, and I think that's the kind of thing we can do on the eBay listings that we can't do on the Amazon listings.
Indeed. And just a quick heads up, if you're listening to this and you hear some banging in the background, I do have some roofers on my roof right now. And again, I work from my home office, and this is about as real life as you can get for it. So on the topic of widget chimp, actually, is that I was actually sat in a meeting with a large corporate company, and they were very large, and I can't mention the name, and they showed me this little sketch of what they wanted. And I goes, hang on, I wrote that like 6-7 months ago. Let me just get my email out. And whipped out the iPad and went back all the way from my emails and got this screenshot. Oh, you mean something like that? And they went, yeah, just like that. And then I think I sent you the same screenshot. And you were one of the very first users which used widget chimps and the reviews widget. And it's gone from there. It's been on Tesco Outlet. It's been on Argos Seconds. You guys use it. It's used by World Stores. And of course, that's allowed me to go into the 18 other widgets, which I've had on my to-do list for quite a period of time. And we've got about 4 or 5 more which have been added since then. So I'm glad that you're enjoying. I'm glad that you can see the benefit from it.
No, it's a powerful thing, and do you know what? It's also quite interesting to see from our point of view and our suppliers' point of view. Our suppliers use some of our listings to see what their end users are thinking of their products.
Oh wow!
So I find that great. I think that's so I can say to suppliers that call in, and I did it this morning with a supplier. I can say this is what people think to your product, and our service. And, they go away feeling quite pleased with themselves.
Okay, that leads me to a slightly different question. I've been working on a new grid mechanism in Widget Chimp in the back end. So would you find it useful that if you could keyword search or pick up a specific item number and find the comments just for that number so you can pass it on and maybe export it to your supplier?
Absolutely. Yeah, we already send people the 30 column version of comments for if someone says to us, asks us a question about a product, we can say that, well, this is what other people thought about it. So yes, to answer your question, yes, that would be useful.
Excellent. And just for the record, you brought that one up and we didn't mention that anywhere in our notes at all.
No, I wasn't coerced to do that. There's no commercial benefit.
Cool beans. Okay. John, let's focus on some of the practical aspects here, which is something which we've not covered up in any of the podcasts up until now, which is that how do you actually deliver products to customers? Which couriers do you use, and what kind of experiences have you had?
Okay, well, we've, like everybody else, we use predominantly Royal Mail, and I would say that Royal Mail are still an impressive organisation doing what they do. We've got very few complaints with Royal Mail. I think some people blame Royal Mail when it's actually nothing to do with Royal Mail. I won't go too much into that. We also use a courier called APC. APC is the Alternative Parcel Company. It's a nationwide franchise of local couriers, very professional, incredibly good at what they do, and competitively priced. Again, there's no commercial. I'm not being sponsored. I'm not a shareholder in APC, but we've been constantly impressed from the day we started to use them. With the way that because they're all locally owned franchises, it's the local business owner who is responsible for his
Okay, so you have a personal relationship with these guys.
We do indeed. And if another area has a problem, they'll communicate via their central hub with the local company who will communicate with us. So we know there's a problem before the customer very often knows there's a problem, and it works. It just works so well.
So the differences between using Royal Mail and a courier is that I'm presuming, again, correct me if I'm wrong, with the cheaper items, then it's and the lighter items, then Royal Mail is extremely cost effective. But when you get into heavier products, so when a customer's been ordered, I don't know, I'm guessing here 30 screwdrivers or maybe a chimney sweeping set, for example, they're much bigger, and then Royal Mail would be prohibitively expensive in that kind of scenario. That's when a courier steps in.
Yeah, they'd be incredibly expensive and not that efficient for that. I mean, they're very efficient with packets. When it comes to something that's more valuable or wants a next day guarantee or a tracking number, then obviously Royal Mail can do those things, but on a day-to-day basis, it's much more cost effective to use a courier like APC.
Excellent. John, we really appreciate your time today, and it's been a fantastic insight. And I know we've covered so many different areas, from how your business started to what tools you're using, down to your couriers as well. It's been a brilliant insight. Thank you ever so much.
Good. Well, good. I'm glad it's useful.
I think the one for me which I liked was competing with Screwfix, Amazon, and B&Q purely just by using software efficiently. I thought that was a very interesting point.
Well, we all know there's a bit more to it than that, but we genuinely do have to compete with these people. I mean, Screwfix is incredibly good. Their marketing emails every day are spot on, and they appear to be wonderful value products. So we have to compete with them.
It's inspiring to see how you're tackling the big guys.
If only. If I once worked out what our market share was of the DIY market, and it was 0.00 something. But what that made me think was actually there's a lot to go for.
Definitely.
If I had 95%, if I was Tesco's, then I'm really going to struggle to get one more percentage point.
But right now, the world is your oyster, and you can use those marketplaces like eBay, like Amazon, to get in front of the customers.
That's right.
John, thank you for your time.
Thanks again, Matt. Take care.
John's just shared some fantastic tips with us in this interview. If you'd like to hear from more business owners just like John, you can pick them up straight away from iTunes by going to understandinge.com/iTunes, or you can check out the previous interviews at understandinge.com/podcasts. And we'll see you there. Cheerio.